Café and Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Reaoch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Today we talk with Sherrilynne Starkie, joining us from Ottawa, Canada. She's host of the 50 Women Over 50 podcast for women whose personal confidence is born of experience. She interviews with 50 women to learn how they see the world, what lessons they've learned, and what advice they have for us all. So Sherrilynne, what do women need to know about life after 50?
Oh, well, this is kind of the object of my new podcast exercise. My goal is to interview 50 women over 50, and I am asking them that very question. So I'm about 8 interviews into my 50 goal, and what I'm hearing so far is that when women turn 50, they become very accepting of themselves and the world and their place in the world, and things that used to matter to them when they were 30 and 40 years old don't seem to be quite as important as it used to be now that they're a little bit older and have a little bit broader perspective on the world. So I would say what people need to know about life after 50 is that it's not the end of the world. I mean, a lot of us approach our 50th birthday with bellies full of dread, thinking that's it, I'm going to be over the hill. Nothing could be further from the truth. I felt that way myself, and I realize now how silly I was being about it all. And that's why I'm doing the podcast, because I just want people out there, women out there, to understand that this could be the best decade of your life. It has been for me. And I want everyone to approach their 50s with confidence.
Well, I agree with you, because obviously I'm over 50. I'm 75.
Oh, okay.
So what we've seen, when I was 20, obviously the outlook, what you're saying is the same for men or women. When we were 20 years old, we looked out, and 50 was sort of the end of the game.
Yes.
All right. And as we got closer to 50, we saw that they were just adding extra time to the game.
Yes.
And today we know people, there are people, many, it's not few, they're in their 80s, 90s, 100 years of age. They're still productive. They still have a life. They're still doing things.
Yes, I agree.
So I think maybe 50 should be called halftime.
I totally agree with you. You know, the concept of being over the hill is changing. That fulcrum point is changing, because people are living longer now. People are living well into their 90s, and they're leading productive lives. So, maybe 50 is middle age. When my parents were raising us, 35, 40 was the over the hill point. But now 50 is not the doom and gloom that I thought it was. I thought my career would be over. I thought that, fun would be over. And frankly, with the pandemic, fun was kind of over for a little while, but fun's back now. and 50 is rather good for me. It's one of the best decades so far.
And I agree. And I think for women, obviously, different from men, you know better than I. When we're talking about hormones and menopause, and there's a whole lot of things happening to a woman.
Yeah, that is one theme that's coming up in my podcast, is that the women are kind of surprised and indignant about the whole menopause thing. It's like they knew it was going to happen in concept, but when it actually happens to them, they're not happy about it and a little bit indignant that they have to go through all this, all these symptoms, the hot flashes and all that kind of stuff. But I think that, the women I've interviewed so far are very pragmatic about it. And, this is a part of life, and we're going to get on with it. And the other thing about the 50 milestone for women is that men are kind of seen as distinguished and sexy, and with their white hair, and as they progress through their careers, or where women are often like they feel that they're put out to pasture. And we do see that a lot in business, actually, that when it's time for reduction in force and time for redundancies to be made, it's often women who are over 50 who have a sizable paycheck and package that hit the cutting floor when it all comes to pass. And we recently in Canada had a very high profile case in the media where a newsreader, Lisa Laflamme, who has been greeting us with the evening news every night for 35 years, suddenly got fired. And the reason, it's not the stated reason, but the implied reason is that during COVID, she let her hair go white. Because she couldn't get out to the salon, right? And so she let her hair go white, and then she kind of liked it. She thought, I'm going to keep it. But yeah, her bosses didn't like it. So she got put out to pasture, and they brought in a young 30-something-year-old man to take her place. And people are not happy. Canadian women are not happy about this. And I think there's, good things in the future for Lisa Laflamme that don't include her former job.
Well, the message I take from that happens, all right? But when I go back and what I say to people, we said that many times on this podcast with other people, we need, and all of our listeners need, we have to take care of our own brand. We are a brand.
Absolutely.
And that's not only on a TV program, but corporately and whatever. We have become, I did that. I became part of a corporate brand. It wasn't me, it was them. And when we have to transition to be ourselves, and that could be at any age.
Yes.
So what I do suggest to people, you have to work on your own brand forever. And that's when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Be yourself, because we will be ourselves wherever we go. And wherever we are career-wise, that's temporary. It's not the final assignment.
I totally agree with you. And I think the young people that grew up with social media in their childhood and in their youth are totally on board with that. But some of us, those of us in the older cohorts, maybe not quite so comfortable with that. But this is one thing that I'm seeing with the women who are my peers that have been forced out of a long-term job or a stable job in their 50s, is they are kind of discovering this. And more often than not, they do end up going to some kind of self-employed situation where they're, either they become a consultant to their former businesses or they reinvent themselves and do something completely new. We've had a couple on the podcast that have done that, got made redundant, and then decided, this is an inflection point in my life. I'm gonna start over and do something completely fresh and new. And but you are right that we are, ourselves PLC are ourselves, our own brand from, the day we start work, really, or today, from the time that they pick up a phone up until, our last day. And you need to work on your branding every day for sure.
Well, and again, I want to congratulate you with what you're doing, because I think obviously what needs to be done is what you're doing. Talk about it. Let women talk about it. And your challenge of 50, I don't think it's going to stop at 50. Because seriously, I think many persons, women, men, they have something to say. It's pent up. And the more we can help as podcast hosts get that message out to more people. Because one of the challenges of aging is that you actually think you're alone, and we're not.
You are so right about that. And I feel like during the pandemic, even more so. I know I'm a very social person. My day job, I'm in PR, so I'm talking to people all day long, but I felt very, very isolated and lonely. And this is part of my ambition for doing this podcast, because it gives me an opportunity to connect with people, to forge new friendships with women my own age. And you are right, I am definitely seeing a pent-up demand. I was overwhelmed by the reaction to this podcast. And like I said, I've published, I think this episode 7 goes out today. My forward list of interviews is 26 women long. So I think you're right. I'm not going to have any trouble filling up my 50 women.
No, the trouble you have a number of days in the week. You're going to become a daily program.
Wouldn't that be nice? I could give up my day job in PR.
No, you have enough. There are enough women out there.
Yes.
You could be doing this every 15 minutes.
Oh my, that sounds like a lot of work.
Well, no, it's a process.
Yes.
It's a process. And what we're doing, you're in Canada, I'm in Brazil, and there are women all over the world. The world has just reached 8 billion people.
Oh my.
8 billion. So when we start counting, how many women are there? How many women approaching 50 are there? We're talking billions. We're not talking of hundreds. It's
Yeah.
literally billions. And so the
Yes.
more you can get the voice out, the more people can hear and be heard and share. I think that's a comfort zone for everybody.
Yes, that's one of the goals for my podcast is to build a real community around it, and it's happening. So I started interviewing a couple of women in my own hometown here in Ottawa. Then it spread a little bit further. I've got a couple from Toronto. Now I have people scheduled that from across the United States and England as well. So
That's how it
it's
starts.
spreading.
That's
Yeah.
how it starts. It literally spreads. Okay, so spread the news.
Yes, and if any of your listeners are interested in coming on the show, please hit me up because I would like to have the broadest cross section of the population as possible. So women from all walks of life, all around the world, we want to hear your voice.
Very good. Well, Sherrilynne, thanks for sharing. Thanks for being part today. Where can our listeners find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Sherrilynne, or if you just Google Sherrilynne, you're going to find me. I've got a pretty big I've been doing digital marketing for 18 years, so I've got a pretty big digital footprint. You'll find me on
I
all
even found you on TikTok.
I know.
And you're active on TikTok. Well, everybody needs to be on TikTok. There are 1 billion users on TikTok.
Yeah, for sure. And they say that the gray cohort is really growing on TikTok too.
It is. Well, actually, what I found, and I'm just sort of a new user, it actually attracts people we don't know.
Yes, and it's entertaining.
Because the other
as well.
social media, we've just been attracting the same people that we know. So it's a learning situation. So congratulations again for that.
Thank you.
So very good. Well, thanks again, Cheryl, for our listeners. It's Sherrilynne Starkie, and that's SHERRILYNNE. The last name Starkie, STARKIE. So it's SherrilynneStarkie.com, her site, and you'll find her throughout social media. Café and Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at www.focusmi.com. Thanks for listening until the next time here at Café and Networking Podcast.